audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
all in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. The Eye Test with Pierre, McGuire, and Jimmy Murphy.
The Stanley Cup winning Colorado Avalanche. And after 22 years,
The sickest NHL podcast. It's gonna be sick.
And let's get me my face there, Pierre, though I'm sure you wouldn't mind not seeing it. Jimmy Murphy and Pierre McGuire here on the Eye Test on the Sick Podcast Network. I'm going to be up front. I'm battling something, Pierre. I don't know if they call it the Montreal flu that goes through some hockey teams sometimes, but my voice is going. I feel something coming on, so I apologize, but I am drinking my tea, so we should be good, my friend. And we are here to talk about the Toronto Maple Leafs and Boston Bruins will be the main focus today, Pierre, as we welcome on Kevin McGran of the Toronto Star. Will be joining us shortly, probably in about 10 to 15 minutes. So we'll talk about that. Some big news out of Toronto, obviously, with Auston Matthews. But lots of other topics around the NHL. And let's go back to last night, Pierre. 2 games on the docket last night weren't really exciting, so to speak. Both ended in 3-0 shutouts for the road team as the LA Kings went into Nashville and shut out the Preds 3-0, and the Devils behind Jake Allen, his second shutout already this season, shut out the Edmonton Oilers. So I was wrong on my Murph sick pick of the day. I apologize, but credit. Let's start with that game, Pierre, because that's the one I'm really focused on with Jake Allen. I think he's a great story. I understand the Canadiens did okay in the trade there for him, but at the same time, I can't help but wonder what it might be like if Jake Allen was still in a Montreal uniform, Pierre.
How about if Jake Allen would have been in an Edmonton Oilers uniform? They might have won the Stanley Cup.
Even better. Even better.
I'm telling you, they might have won the Stanley Cup.
Or
how about if you'd have been in a Colorado Avalanche sweater?
That's the one I was looking at. That's where I was going to go right after.
So I did the job. It's not an easy job. There's always going to be people second guessing when you're a pro scout and you're evaluating talent. Jake Allen wasn't a hard one to evaluate.
No.
You knew exactly what you were getting. And quite frankly, he's better than what they have in goal in Edmonton, and he's better than what they have in goal in Colorado. Both those teams misread the situation. They would admit it. So you want to talk about the Edmonton Jersey game? Jersey's fast, just like Edmonton's fast. Edmonton played the night before in Calgary. Jersey had played Saturday night in Vancouver. What are you going to say? Jersey's a better team right now. They're just they're a better team.
Yep.
And without Connor McDavid, Edmonton is not nearly as good. And we talked about Draisaitl yesterday stepping up and delivering in the previous 2 games, and hats off to Leon. He did a good job, but a lot of guys are affected in Edmonton when Connor McDavid's not playing. It affects a lot of guys.
Yeah, and we had kind of this discussion. I saw sort of a little banter going back and forth in our comments section here, which I love. I love reading you guys. You're all great points every show. But I don't know if it was yesterday or last week, and we were talking about McDavid. It might have been right when they announced he was going to be out for a while, Pierre. And someone had said, well, this is proof that it's better to have a team than be focused on 2 superstars. And then someone said, well, not really. It's always better to have the 2 superstars and have that talent. I'm going to go with the former. And I think that's what Edmonton misread and has misread continually, is that these 2 guys they took you to game 7. I understand that. They came very close. But still, overall, you need the depth. And you were on it from the get-go, Pierre, in the offseason, saying there's a lot of redundancy here in terms of their offseason additions. And yeah, why wouldn't you go out and get a guy like Jake Allen? You know what he's like in the dressing room. You know what he did for the St. Louis Blues on their run to the Stanley Cup in 2019. He helped a young Canadiens team for a while. I mean, this guy is, I think, one of the most underrated players in the NHL right now.
Well, he's a good player, but let's talk about Edmonton. Jake is gone. He's not going to be there, obviously.
Yep.
They've miscalculated their defense significantly. And so even though Stuart Skinner's the goalie that they're counting on, it really doesn't matter because it's still the defense, actually the 6 guys that play defense are not up to where they need to be a legitimate contender for the Cup. I know everybody's going to say, oh, they're going to score their way out of trouble. No, they're not.
No.
They've tried. They've been trying since 1990. Okay, trust me. Since they won the Stanley Cup in 1990, They've been to the final one other time or two other times. They were in 06 against Carolina. They lost in Game 7. And then last year in 2024, they lost in Game 7 to Florida.
Yeah.
So since 1990, they've been trying to win without having up-to-snuff defense, and it hasn't worked.
I'm with you on that, Pierre. And the other thing, too, I totally agree with everything you just said, but I want to look at that bottom six of forwards there, too, because these are guys that you depend on to play that defensive brand of hockey and come in and spell some relief for your top six. And, you know, even coming in this season, Pierre, we both agreed when we looked at that roster and the guys they had, that's not it. That's not what they have there. They just were trying to add more scoring. You got to have grinders. You got to have them.
You're right. You're not wrong, Jimmy. Here's the one thing I'd say. They were convinced that they could replace internally Ryan McLeod. I said it on the show here, so I'm not trying to play Monday morning quarterback like some other people in the media do. Said it on the show. You can check the tape. I didn't like that move, and I told you at the time. You know, it was for Skinner, and this whole thing. It addressed what Buffalo needed, but it really hurt what Edmonton did need.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm with you on that. Let's go to that other 3-0 game, Pierre. Nashville, you know, they lose a game.
Trouble brewing, my man. Trouble brewing.
I got to say it, Pierre, and look, we've made it clear, and by no means am I saying I think this should happen or I want it to happen. It's complete opposite, because I've made it very clear that I'm a coach's guy, and I'd rather see a player get traded to do a shakeup. But I'm getting worried for Andrew Brunette in Nashville right now, because there's something off with that team. There's too much skill right now. But maybe, like Edmonton, maybe there's too much redundant skill or too much redundancy in certain areas of the game where maybe there should be a little more variety. So I don't know. There's something going on.
Yeah, the guys they brought in to score, Stamkos and Marchessault, they're not scoring.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a problem. They need a second center. That's a problem.
Yeah.
Brady Shea, by the way, has been great on that defense, and Roman Yoshi has been great on that defense, but they got other issues on that defense that aren't good enough. They got guys playing out of where they should be in the slotting system. So they got a hole in the middle, and they got a hole on defense. I feel bad for Andrew. Andrew Brunette is a hockey geek. He loves hockey. He watches hockey all the time. He knows the game inside and out. You know, I watched him play junior. He played on the line with Scott Walker, who played in the NHL for a long time, and Kirk Maltby in Owen Sound. That's how much of an impact. Here we are 35 years later, and I still remember who he played junior with, okay? That's how much of an impact he made on me as a scout and a coach. And I watched him play for Barry Trotz in Portland when they won the Calder Cup. He's a hockey junkie. He's a hockey savant. He knows how to coach. He does. He knows how to coach. Yeah. I just think there are too many holes on his team.
But considering all the money that the GM out there,
you're not wrong. You're not wrong, dude. You're not wrong at all.
It's tough.
And the guy that's the general manager, he's a really good coach.
Right?
He probably is a better coach than he is a GM. I know he's got a heck of a lot more experience.
This question just popped in my head as you said that, Pierre. Can that be really difficult for a guy like Brunette when the guy you work for that you report to was an amazing coach himself, or is it a benefit, or both?
I think it's a benefit. I think it's important that Andrew use that as a resource. And I'll tell you what's one of the cool parts about this is Andrew played for Barry in the American Hockey League with Portland, so there's always been a relationship there. And when you win a championship with somebody, that's a bond for life. It really is. It's truly a bond for life. I'm going to tell you a story that happened to me today. I got a text. I was out working out early this morning, and I got a text when I was out working out, and it was from a coach. And he said, "I want to pick your brain about this team." So I said, "With pleasure." I said, "I'm
not
working out." Not his team, another team. Okay. And so I said, "Look, I'm working out. I'll call you in 2 hours." So I did. I called him. And I had no idea, exactly what lane he wanted to go down. And he said, I know you've seen a lot of games. Like, can you help me out with this team? I'm trying to formulate a plan, and I don't feel comfortable with the plan. And so we spoke for about 20 minutes on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
And I texted him afterwards. I said, thanks a lot. That really stimulated me. It was a hockey talk. It was X's and O's. It'd be boring for most people. And I said, that really stimulated me. Thanks a lot. He goes, you're my friend. Why wouldn't I get in touch with you? You're a resource. And I started thinking, I'm like, you know what? That's what I used to do when I was a coach. I'd call people that I really respected to try to get help. And that's where that mentorship thing comes out that we talk about all the time.
Yeah. Yep. A to Z me right now asking, Pierre, did you invoice him too?
No.
Pierre doesn't do that. I got to say,
my wife wishes I would, but I didn't.
I was just going to say you would probably be a little richer, but I got to say too, and this is what I love about Pierre being my partner. And he says he's sorry when it happens, and it's doesn't bother me. It just shows how connected he is. But Pierre, today we have our pre-podcast talk. How many times did we have to call each other back because your phone was just buzzing off the hook? 3, maybe?
3.
4.
3.
Okay.
No, 3 or 4. I'm going to say
3. Yeah.
It was
3. So I'm just giving you guys an inside glimpse as to how busy this man is and how many people he's talking to in the hockey world every day. It's great. And then, of course, I'm the recipient. I get to receive the info and the intel and learn from it. And he's telling me what he talked about with these people in the hockey world. So it's great. I love it. But yeah, I look
to bug you late at night, and you get really you're nice to me. You just placate me. When I get really mad at something I see on TV, I call Jimmy up or text him.
I'm not placating you because usually I'm watching the same thing.
I'm sitting here doing this, and I'm watching. I'm like, damn, and I call or text you. He deals with it perfectly well.
And I'm out the
other
night.
You're my outlet, Jimmy. You're my outlet.
I know, and I apologize for my phone kind of being off the hook this weekend, but I'll tell you what, Pierre, I like that too, and I look at it too as sometimes it's better, and you would probably agree, to call somebody outside the organization, somebody that's neutral and objective and isn't glued to it emotionally. That can help a lot, I bet.
I'll never forget this. It was a really good lesson early on. I would provide Bob Johnson with all this information about different teams we were about to play.
Right.
And one time I was in his office giving him a breakdown, and he was talking to a guy that used to work for him that was working for another team. They were in the West, we were in the East. And right in front of me, Bob's like, well, McGuire thinks this and McGuire thinks that. Is he right or is he wrong? Right in front of me to this guy that worked for him. And thank goodness the guy said, yeah, no, he's right about that. He's got that pretty much nailed down. But imagine if he would have said, no, he's wrong on everything. I would have been punted right out of the room. So it was good. I learned that early, though. That was a good lesson. It's what you said is so smart, Jimmy. Sometimes people are too involved with their own organization and they don't go outside for help.
Yeah.
And it's the wrong way to do it. Yeah. It's the wrong way to do it.
And that shows you too. I mean, and to their credit, I know as a reporter how many times it can be so frustrating when, a team, when you're asking them about an upcoming game, we'll just focus on ourselves. We're just focused on our game. Yeah, and you look at them, you're like, you're so cliche. But then as I grew older, Pierre, and I start to see the ins and outs, and then I learn a lot from you and other people in the business, it is true. They do try to stay within their world and they try as much as they can. It's hard now with social media, but they try as hard as they can to block it out. But they are human, so sooner or later it's going to get through. But it's true. Sometimes you just get caught up in your own world.
Yep. Get Kevin on. We want to talk to a guy from
Toronto already. Let's do some Maple Leafs, Boston Bruins, a rematch of a 4-3 overtime win in Boston by the Bruins a couple of weeks back. Mr. Kevin McGran, my fellow celiac man, how are you?
I'm all right, Mr. Murphy. Mr. Pierre, how's it going, Savab?
Oh, there you go. Kevin, good to see you. It's been a while. Good to see you.
Oh, yeah.
Good stuff. How's everything up in TL?
Happy belated birthday to you, Jim. I got one coming up. I recommend getting older. I do not recommend getting rickety with age. So do everything you can to stay, take yoga or something, man. My knees are killing me these days.
Yeah, I'm already feeling it. So I definitely will. And I've got a good man. He's a good trainer right there in the middle of us. So he'll help me out for sure. Speaking of body injuries and hurting, What's the latest here in Auston Matthews? Not playing tonight. Do we have any idea what this injury is?
No, we just know that it was lingering with him for a while. You can interpret that. That's coach speak. Pierre, you know better what that means. Is it 2 games? Is it 5 games? Is it since training camp?
It could be a while.
I will say, I mean, he's not really been himself. I mean, he's getting lots of shots off, and he has played a more physical version of hockey. But to watch him play, there's been no dynamism with him, like those dynamic plays that he usually makes. He's been missing shots, missing one-timers. He's been missing the net. I mean, it's an easy narrative to say it's related. Maybe it's nothing, but I always think there's something. And I think with big players, it's usually the back, right? Carrying a lot of weight. He takes a lot of cross checks to the back. Kind of, like you remember what Mario Lemieux went through. Big players, Eric Lindros, they all go through these things. And he's a big guy, and that would be my suspicion, but I have no evidence to back it up.
Hey, Kevin, last year everybody wanted Guy Boucher fired because the power play stunk, so they fired him. Now this year they went, let's go get Marc Savard. Let's get that power play going. They're 4 for 40. They changed the coach. The players are all the same. What's going on?
That's a real interesting one. Like, I don't exactly know what. Like, it's not like the other 31 teams were clamoring for Marc Savard to come join and make their power play, right? Better. I think Marc Savard is kind of a higher Pierre. Again, this is something you'd know. A coach coming into a new situation wants a guy that he knows and trusts and can have a beer with after the game and before he blends into the rest of the organization. I think Marc Savard's role is really as Berube's friend. They have so much talent they can't possibly go at 10% or whatever they're going at. Yeah. I think they're overthinking it. I think they're trying in their head is to play Berube's way, and in their mind is to play their way, and they're mixed up. The guys that are taking the shots are not the guys you want to take the shots. Matthew Nylander will pass off. Marner and Riley will shoot. Like, it's not because Marner and Riley are coachable. They will do what the coach says. The other guys are kind of still freelancing, and I think there's a little bit of a miscommunication there.
Yeah, I said that to you a bit yesterday, Pierre. I was wondering if trying to adapt to a new system and Berube's style of play sometimes can subconsciously make you forget who you are as a player and the things you can do offensively, maybe, because obviously he stresses a lot more defense. So I was wondering if maybe that was happening there. But in terms of trying to spark it, what has Berube been doing? Has he changed up the system at all, or has he kind of kept it the same?
Well, he seems to change every 3 games. So we get a new power play unit. Either he goes a minute for both units, or he loads up one unit and decreases the other unit, or he just keeps changing the units. And I don't blame him because it's not working. So find something that works, find something that motivates them, find a way to get their head out of thinking about how bad they are on the power play. One thing that I would argue is win a face-off on the power play. They have trouble. Like, if you win a face-off on the power play, and I don't think they're doing very good at that. If you win a face-off on the power play, you're giving yourself 20, 25 more extra seconds to the puck around and get the defense out of position. Personally, I would concentrate on face-offs. They got good face-off guys. They don't seem to win on the power play, though.
Kevin, do they have enough good puck movement on the back end right now to be a legitimate Stanley Cup contender?
They have enough. I like their size on the back end, and Hakanpää is going to come back pretty soon. I was talking with him yesterday. I like their size on the back end. They have enough puck movement. I think they have enough to get out of the Atlantic Division finally. I don't know how much further they'll go than that. I've picked them to win the Stanley Cup, but I may as well, right? I work here. May as well ride that momentum, right? Be right. Be the one guy.
I'm just going to back Kevin up on this. No, he's not a homer.
He's not.
I know. He's not a homer. So I'm defending you.
Good team, right? And I mean, you hate to say it, but they gotta win around eventually, right? They got to do it. They got to beat Boston eventually, right? They got to, they beat Tampa finally, right? They got to beat them eventually. And I think the Atlantic Division at the high end is 4 very equal teams. And at the low end is 4 very equal teams, and the gap is closing between the high end and the low end. Yeah. So I think it's there for them. Their best players are in their prime. So if ever they're going to do it, it's this year or next.
What's been your take? Pierre and I are a big fan of the Stolar signing, and we really like him. He did a great job in Florida. But what's been your take on how he's fit in so far?
Oh, he's been more than anybody could have imagined. I mean, this team has really, I guess, goaltending. They had a run with Freddie Anderson, but really they haven't had. They've gone with a rotating circus of goalies, like spin the wheel of free agent goalies and hope for the best. And he's really probably been the best of them. Came in. I mean, if those that really follow goaltending were high on him, but the general population didn't know much about him. A 30-year-old who hasn't played more than 30 games in a season or something like that. The bar was low, and he's come in and surpassed it, and even surpassed it beyond that. He's a good goalie. Seems to be a good man. Seems to have his brain in the right headspace, both as a goalie and as a guy in the hot seat in Toronto. He's endeared himself to the fan base and to the local media. He's just easy to talk to, and he really hasn't had a bad game yet. He's stopped shots because he's big, and they've got a slightly better defense in front of him than they had in front of Samsonov last year, so that will help him and Joe Wall.
Right.
But I think he's better than advertised, I'd say, and the advertisement from Tree Living was pretty high.
Kevin, what's the buzz on Mitchell Marner's contract situation, or is there any at all?
It's eerily quiet, Pierre. Eerily quiet. And, Darren Ferris doesn't necessarily operate in that manner, but, give him credit. I don't know how this is going to play out. I'm perfectly content with an own rental, if that's going to be the term that we use on him. You're a better team with him than without him. Whatever the trade's going to be, there's only a handful of players better than them, and they're not available in a 1-for-1. Right now it's just stay the course. It wouldn't surprise me if a contract just sort of popped up. I mean, Tree does that. He operates fairly quietly. Like the Matthews extension came out of the blue, and the Nylander extension sort of came out of the blue. It wouldn't surprise me if he comes in at somewhere 12.5 times 8, somewhere between Nylander and Matthews, and then the entire fan base can fret about when are we going to get rid of one of these guys. I'm not among them. Like these 4 players, or 3.5, because Tavares is a bit on the downswing, I guess. But these are other teams would love to have these guys on their roster. And who's better? I mean, you don't need to move one to create space for a guy that's trying to get into the lineup and can't. You got 3 really, really elite players. Pay them, play them, see what happens.
In terms of adding depth behind, their star players up there, Nylander, Matthews, Marner, what have you thought of the job that Tree Living's done since he's been in Toronto?
Jury's out, really. I mean, I like Max Pacioretty playing with Tavares. They seem to have some kind of fun chemistry with each other. 2 old guys. I like that. I'm not the greatest Max Domi fan. He seems to have a role, and he's better in a top 6 role than a bottom 6 role, but he takes a lot of penalties, and he doesn't kill penalties. So I'm not quite sure why there's 4 more years of that. He's a good guy and all that. I don't have a problem with him as a player, but as they're sort of primo below the top 6 thing, he's not what I would go with. He's got guys like Connor Dewar, who'll be coming back this week. There's just a lot of guys that seem to be interchangeable that don't really do anything. I guess the coach just hopes they don't get scored on when they're out there. David Kampf at $2.4 million, I think that seems like a big price for a 4th line center. And there's just a bunch of guys, and you kind of hope some of them take off. Like I think Bobby McGran will take off, but he hasn't figured himself out yet. Nick Robertson predates Tree, but these are the guys they decided to keep or decided to re-sign, and they don't really have a role under Berube just yet. It's still early. Like I'd say give Bobby McMahon till December. He'll probably take off in January. Maybe Max Domi finds a way to play as 3rd line center. It'll be 1st line tonight, which will suit him, but maybe he finds a way to jibe with some of the younger guys. But those guys in the 3rd and 4th lines, they just seem to be a bunch of guys interchangeable. I don't think Craig Berube necessarily loves him. He loves Steve Lorentz. Like Steve Lorentz is a heck of a player.
Great pickup.
Everything got every night. and Ryan Reeves gives you everything he's got every night, but that's not a lot anymore.
Right.
So they got their work cut out in terms of trying to develop that. They've got a couple of guys in the Marlies that could help, but I don't think a team that thinks itself a Stanley Cup contender is going to be bringing up rookies at any point soon.
No, but one young player that's doing really well is Matthew Nyes. And Kevin, I know you're good at this. Where do you see his plateau? What do you see him being?
Well, I think he's got a chance to be as Chris Kreider, right? I think he could, or Zach Hyman. I think he's the best player they've had on that left wing since Zach Hyman. So does that mean he's got a 50-goal a year in his future? He might have one, but I don't think he knows how good he is. He's, for the size that he's got, you see how fast he is, and he hits and he digs out pucks. He's like a primo left winger. I've seen people redraft that year that he was drafted. He was a second-round pick. He was a steal for the Leafs. And he's a top 10 player if you redo that draft, maybe top 5.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah.
Kev, I'll give you one more question here. What has been the temperature of the fan base? I mean, obviously, we know how long they've been waiting for them to finally win one there, but is there a sense of patience this year, or is it, everybody's freaking out and they need to be better?
It's like wake me up in May. Like we'll go. I
love that.
Because you've got these great players, they're going to make great plays. Some of them will. Maybe a guy will score 50 or 60 again. Maybe a guy will go on a 25-game winning streak again. Maybe the goalie's going to get right. Just enjoy 82 games. Don't fret a 2 or 3 game slide because they're just too good for that. I mean, from my perspective, it would be great if they would drop down and there would be all this angst. But
that means money.
Sure, the fan base is see you in April, see you in May, and maybe see you in June.
Well, I hope I see you at the Hall of Fame weekend, Kevin. I'd really like to say hello and pick your brain a little bit more away from a microphone.
Oh, no problem. I'll be there.
All right, I'll be looking for you.
Before we go, we got our resident music man here, Marvin Matthews, in our chat rooms, wondering what kind of guitar is that in the background?
The Yamaha.
All right, there you go.
I was 16 years of age. I don't want to tell you how old it is, but it's my.
I'll see you in the Hall of Fame.
20 years. See you later, buddy. Good to see you. Have a good one.
Cheers.
All right. Kevin McGran, great guy. He's one of the best in the biz.
He's been at it a long time.
He has.
And you know what? He's not in your way. He's not in your face. He's a really gifted writer, as you know. But he asks poignant questions. He doesn't try to embarrass anybody. He just tells the truth. What he just said about Max Domi is true. Yeah. Max is having a tough start to the year offensively. He's going to get a huge opportunity to play first line tonight. But see how he did it? He didn't do it in a mean-spirited way.
No.
He was a gentleman about it.
Yeah. And I liked what he said, when I asked him about how has Trey done with the building the depth behind the star players. And he said, jury's out. And that's fair. That's not overly.
That guy is not good. He can't do this. You got to get rid of him. You heard what he said about Mark Savard? There was how many teams are screaming to hire Mark Savard? Right. But the coach trusts him because he worked with him in St. Louis and played with the guy. And he thinks he's good. He thinks he's good.
Yeah, it's great. I'll tell you a quick story about Kevin. One time I'm in Montreal. We were there for a Leafs-Habs game, and he says, I want you to meet me tomorrow for dinner over in the Plateau. You know the Plateau up here. At this place called La Cabane. It's right on St. Laurent. Now, this is a guy from Toronto giving me a food tour of Montreal, because he had found out I had just become celiac and he was already celiac. And he said, I'm going to let you know all the good places. He took me to 3 different places, but that was his regular. And we'd end up there. Every time we were in Montreal together, we'd always end up at La Cabane. And the owner was a Bruins fan, so he loved me and knew who I was. So it was great. But Kev's a classic. I'll tell you that. He really is. He's
old school. But he's a hockey passionate person, and he really is a gifted writer.
Good for the fans. I love what he said about them with the temperature of the fan base. Yeah, wake me up in April and May. That's perfect.
For them, it's Stanley Cup or nothing. It is. Yeah. Can you imagine? So they haven't played in the Stanley Cup final since 1967, Jimmy.
Mm-hmm.
Jimmy.
I know.
54 years ago.
It's insane. What was the closest they came? Was it 94?
Carolina, they were 94 was one. They lost when Pat Quinn was coaching at Carolina.
Okay.
In the Eastern Final. So that would have, I think it was 02. Might have been.
Yeah,
it
I'll
was
double check.
But anyway, so that's the last time. That was really.
Pierre, I was just trying to figure out as we were talking if there's any players on the Toronto Maple Leafs that would have played in the Friendship Four over in Northern Ireland off the top of your head.
McMahon might have with Colgate.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking with Colgate.
McCabe would not. Wisconsin, he would not. Just doing the whole thing here, the roster. Nyes would not.
Nope.
Matthews, no.
I don't think so yet.
I think McMahon would be the only one. I think he did.
Okay. I'll double check that to make sure. But what about where did Matt Benning go? Is Matt Benning Providence?
He's in Northeastern.
Northeastern. Okay, so he might have. I'll double check.
He may have, but I don't think he was in that cycle.
Okay. All right. We'll double check. But speaking of, I was just thinking about it as I was prepping for the podcast today. I mean, as of next Sunday, it will be 2 weeks away till we go over to Ireland. We'll start off in Dublin. We will broadcast there. Pierre, do we have a home yet for that?
Getting very close to having a spot.
Okay. When we do, we will let everybody know where we will be because we do know we have some listeners and viewers over in Ireland already. And then, of course, we'll be at the Harp Bar that Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, leading into the Friendship Four. And our gratitude, obviously, to the organizers of the event and specifically to Sarah Stanton and Cara Travel. Really looking forward to that. It's going to be a great time.
I spoke to Stevie Thornton today.
Oh, really? Good. How's he doing?
The general manager of the Belfast Giants. And they're listening all the time to the eye test. And he says, oh, you guys are going to enjoy the Harp Bar. It'd be good. We were talking about, because there's an event on Friday that I'm going to be involved in, Jimmy, that they're putting forward before the game. So we were just going over that today. But really excited about the opportunity for you and I to go over there. I just you've been following it because you're the social media person, but the amount of people in Europe that are listening to the eye test right now is pretty amazing.
It is amazing. I think too, Pierre, going back to the Giants there too, a lot of that has to do with them. I mean, they've done a great job of spreading the game and helping people understand the game and become fans of it. And it all traces back to them. So kudos to them for what they've done. Being ambassadors of this game. All right. Before we get to our Q&A, we've got to mention Betway, of course. And as we always tell you, they are the leading global online betting and gaming brand. You want to go over there right now, follow your gut instinct, go with Betway. You can sign up with that QR code right in front of you if you're watching here on YouTube, or you can go over to Betway and sign up there. And remember, you must be 18 plus and play responsibly. I'm going to make it quick here. So let's get the Murph Sick Pick of the Day brought to you by Betway.
It's time for Sick Picks, brought to you by Betway.
All right, make it short and sweet here. Then just for anyone that doesn't know, a parlay is what I'm going to give you here, a pick. It's when you combine two or more teams. Both teams must win. You can't have one or the other. They all must win, but it increases the value, obviously, in the payout. So I'm going to give you the Senators Sabres over 6, the Montreal Canadiens to win over the Flames on the money line, and the Colorado Avalanche on the puck line, which means they have to win by 2 or more. So that's it. The Sens Sabres over 6, the Habs money line, and the Avs puck line. Let's get to our Q&A. All right, we're on the roll. Julien Brisebois, obviously an intelligent man, but he is looking like a genius not signing Stamkos. Still must hurt to let Stammer go, though, for him personally. I think the jury's out still. I mean, I know he's off to a bad start, but
it's a huge adjustment for a player that's been his whole career in one place. Yeah. Went to the final in, obviously 2015, went to the final in 20, went to the final in 21, went to the final in 22. You're the captain of the team that goes to the final 4 times. I mean, this is not easy for him. And I'm not making excuses for Steven, but this is not easy. And, I hear a lot of stuff, as Jimmy talked about, from around the league. And there are people saying stuff that I don't think is appropriate. About the struggles of Marchessault and the struggles of Stamkos over in Nashville right now. It takes time for guys to adjust.
Yep.
We're not even at the 15-game mark yet. Like, at 20 games, if they're not going, we'll say maybe they lost it, but I'm not prepared to go there.
And Pierre, I'll add one more thing about Nashville there. Like, we were talking about Edmonton and how sometimes the sum of the parts is better than having the 2-star plays. I wonder, too, how much of an adjustment is it for the Predators welcoming 2-star players in like that and sort of changing the mindset of maybe how they work in that sum of the parts manner. There's a lot of adjustment for everybody when you bring in 2 big players like that. So
great point. That's really a good point. I like what you just said there. That's spot on.
All right, next question. Randy Workman, Jimmy and Pierre, I wonder if the Oilers need a big name experienced coach, someone who can help bring in that winning lineup.
I don't know. Knobloch was pretty good last year.
Hi.
Coffey's on the bench with them. I mean, that's good. Mark Stewart did a really good job. I don't know. I don't think coaching's the issue there right now. I don't like the makeup of their team.
Well, I wonder if people are already starting to wonder Stan Bowman, a certain coach that's on the free agent market, and might happen. All right, next question. John Smith, gents, I'm astonished at the upward development of Joel Eriksson Ek. He went from a checking fourth liner to one of the most solid two-way players in the West. Thoughts on him? John, great point. Totally agree. I think he's a player not enough people around the league know about right now. I highly urge people to start watching Wild and focus in on him.
Well, we talked about them yesterday. It's the best story in the league so far. John Hines doing a great job. Billy Guerin, the GM, doing a great job. Joel Eriksson Ek is one of those guys. Here's what I can tell you. He's one of the fittest players in the NHL. He is a training machine. And one of the things that's happened that's really taken a lot of pressure off of him, he doesn't have to worry about being the number one center there anymore. Marco Rossi's doing that right now with Kaprizov and with Zuccarello, and it's made a huge difference. And so he's playing against a lot of other teams' top players a lot of nights, but he likes that. That's where that fitness comes in. So I think they've created the proper role for him. I'm not going to say he's Patrice Bergeron, but there's a Bergeron element to his game.
He's saying that
he's a really good player. It's a great pickup, a really good pickup by the questioner. Really good.
All right, next question. A to Z me. 12 games into the season, which teams are you guys most surprised about, good and bad? Pierre, you want to start this one, and I'll pick up after you.
Yeah, I'm really disappointed in Anaheim. I thought Anaheim, and I got it wrong. I thought Anaheim would be a lot better out of the gate. They're not. I don't know what's going on there. I feel really bad because I really like the coach there. I think the general manager's done a good job getting players there. I think the amateur scouts have done a really good job drafting players there. I thought they would take a step, not a huge step, but a step. They have not done that. So I'm disappointed in them, and I'll take the blame for that. I picked them to be a lot better than what they have been so far. I don't think Edmonton's been nearly good enough. I think that's a disappointment for me. And I think Minnesota has been one of the really great stories along with Winnipeg. Those two teams, big rivals, they're both doing fantastically well.
Yeah, Pierre, look, I'm going to go with, in the East, I'm going to go with the Bruins as a team. I thought their lineup was flawed, but there's just something else that I've been seeing I don't like about their game, and they've underachieved, in my opinion. Even if that lineup was a bit flawed or overrated, I still think they can be better than what they've been. And out West, I'm with you. I'm going with, it's kind of a tie between the Preds and the Oilers for me. As we were just discussing, we've been talking about them a lot this episode. They're underachieving as well. They've had a tough time adjusting to the new faces in the lineup. And yeah, the Oilers, I think it's enough said right there. As for great surprises, I mean, I'm with Pierre in the Minnesota Wild, but I'll look in the East, and I know they've been a little up and down lately, but I'm sticking with the Washington Capitals as a great surprise. I thought they were one of these teams that was just lucky to make it in last year, and they'd sort of go back into a rebuild mode this year, but they have really surprised me. They bought into what Carberry's doing there, and McClellan is, I think one of our viewers said the other day, really deserves a lot of credit for the lineup he constructed.
Yeah. Agreed.
So here we go. All right, next question. Chris Blue Shirts. Hey, guys, I was glad that Laviolette shuffled his top 9, got Laffy to play on the first line. My question to you guys is that something a coach does to prevent complacency? Is there something a coach does to prevent complacency from his group? Let's go Rangers. Thanks, Chris. Pierre?
Oh, yeah, coaches are always trying to tweak the lineup just a little bit to keep the attention of his players, and also not to allow teams, the opposition, to get a beat on what they're doing day in, day out. You don't want to become too predictable. But, Lafreniere deserves to be knocked up.
Yeah, he's earned
He deserves to go up the lineup. He does. He really does. He's had a really good start to the year. I was talking to somebody today that I really respect in hockey, and we don't disagree very often, and we did on this one. He said, I think the Rangers centers are overrated. I said, no, I don't agree. I know Zibanejad's had a tough start to the year, but Trocheck's been really good. He's been really good. Hedo's been outstandingly good. And Carrick in the 4-hole has been really good for the Rangers. I said, I don't agree. And then he said, you know what? I forgot about Hedo. And I'm like, yeah, no, a lot of people have forgot about Hedo.
Yeah, because he's always hurt.
But you look at that line. We talked about it the other day, right from the start of the year. Capo's been a lot better. You have to give him a ton of credit. Philip Hedo's been really good, and Will Cully's been really good. So, I mean, I don't know. I think the center ice play for the Rangers is good. I like the Rangers. I think the Rangers are a good team.
I completely agree, but I think Hedo's one of the best guys to bring up there, Pierre. That's been a big difference for them. All right, next question. Ron LaRoque, if a young prospect's career is derailed due to injury, are they sometimes offered club jobs if they want it, like entry-level scout, and work their way up? Curious. I've seen that happen, I think.
Sometimes that happens. I mean, sometimes guys just want to get away from the game, too. You'd be surprised. One of the biggest issues, I think, in hockey now is players that have been in the league for a long time have made so much money that they really don't want to go into the hockey business. Because the trial and tribulation to get to that position where you're going to make huge money again is hard. And a lot of guys don't want to live that life on the road anymore. Scouting sounds like a romantic job. It's a hard job. I have so much respect for the guy, whether they're pro or amateur scouts. Those guys live hard. I mean, it's a difficult way to exist. It's way more difficult than people think.
Yeah, people have no idea of some of the places they have to travel to and how they get there as well. It's not, luxury jetliners here, or quick ride out there. Yeah. They're going out in the middle of nowhere usually. All right, next question. Randy, best goalie in the league right now?
Well, I'll tell you right now, by the numbers, it's Philip Gustafson.
Yeah.
If you want to play by the numbers. But if you were to ask me the best goalie, Shesterkin probably.
Yep, I would go with that.
I know the people in Winnipeg will say Connor Hellebuck, but Shesterkin's really good. You know what? I can't wait to watch Dustin Wolf tonight in Montreal for Calgary. Can't wait to watch him in Montreal. Really, I'm excited to watch him.
Yeah, he's going to rising star there in Calgary. All right, next question. GB, what do you guys think of Boston and Montgomery benching Pasternak? I think it was well-deserved. I think it was the right move. And the other thing I'll say, too, that we forgot to mention this yesterday, Pierre, but I said it to you off air yesterday, is that's a sign to me that maybe Montgomery's seat isn't as hot as we once thought. Because as you pointed out to me, Pierre, usually when a coach makes a move like that, he's got the blessing from above. And, if he does, then I wouldn't think that he's out the door really soon unless something drastic happens. So that's something to keep an eye on there. But yeah, I think Pasternak admitted he deserved it. I thought he handled it like a good leader. Charlie Coyle handled it like a leader, saying we're all accountable here, even if it's me. It doesn't matter what your star status is on a team. So I think it was a good move, and we'll see how they react tonight.
Standards matter a lot, and that's a standard that they're not prepared to break. They're not going to infringe on. If you're not playing the right way and you're not doing what the coach wants, you're going to sit down and watch. I think that's good. I don't have a problem with it at all.
That's twice now, Pierre, too, that he's held a player with a letter on his jersey accountable. Marchand first.
So what happens with that, Jimmy, all the other guys say, well, if he can do it to those two guys, what's he going to do to me?
Exactly.
What's he going to do to me?
Here's the one thing, Pierre. I would imagine you don't want to do it too often.
No, you can't. But
you have to pick your spot.
So the fact that Charlie Coyle said what he said, he's a mature, respected player in that dressing room. All the other guys are going to say, okay, that's fine. Coach is right.
He says that, yep. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Next question. Jeffrey B. Are Habs fans taking for granted the impact Monahan had for most of last year? He took all the important draws. He was impactful on the bumper during PP. What he does hasn't been replaced internally. Jeffrey, I think every point you're making is great. They're all correct. I don't know how much that's been underappreciated. I'm not there enough. Pierre's dealing with them more when he does the post game, so I'll let him take this.
No, I think you're right on, Jeffrey. I do. I think those are all good points. The one thing I'd say is the Canes aren't going to rush players. Like, I would tell you that Owen Beck in a year will probably be in that Monahan role, and he will thrive in that role. The Canes aren't going to rush prospects. They're smart. Now, they have one guy down in the American League, two guys actually, that I think can play in the NHL. Joshua Roy, if they put him in a scoring position, is going to score. And then Logan Mailloux. Jimmy, like, he's too good. Just named American Hockey League Player of the Week. I talked to an American Hockey League coach this afternoon before I came on with you. He says, "Hey, look, he's too good to be in our league. He's the best player in our league."
They've got guys coming.
Montreal's got guys coming. So I know everybody wants instantaneous results in Montreal. It's coming. I understand it's painful, but it's coming.
And by the way, what a fit he's been in Columbus, obviously, with the tragedy that happened and everything. All right, next question. Ron LaRoque, what does Utah have to do tonight to beat the Jets? Catch them sleeping? I don't know.
No, it's really, I think for Utah, they got to play a tight, hard game without taking penalties, and they got to find a way to get the lead so that they're comfortable and they're able to maintain their systems. If they fall behind and have to open up, I'm not comfortable that they're going to have success against Winnipeg.
All right, next question. And so the last one, I think. Randy, Pierre and Jimmy, does benching a player in a game work? As we just said. Yeah, definitely. Yep. It does.
Now, it may not get you an invitation to the Christmas party. it may not, have you spend a lot of time on the road in the hotel lobby talking to one another, but eventually things smooth out.
And I think, too, you learn a lot about the player, Pierre, and how he reacts. Like, does he take it like a man? Does he take it like a good teammate, or is he more about himself? So I think it's always something, if it's the right spot, like I just said, you do it. So
see, here's my thing. I don't like players that are happy when they get sat out or sat down. I want guys that are ticked off. There's a reason why I'm sitting you out. I want that passion out of you. I want you to get a spur and start kicking. I want you to be angry. I know it sounds really mean, but there's not a lot you can do to punish a player. They're making a lot of money.
Yep.
The only one thing you can do, you can take away their ice time and see how that drives them nuts.
Yeah. Sometimes, and Pierre, I'm sure you've been in that situation, sometimes the coach has to become the enemy. And if you can unite a team, as a certain team in 1980 did in Lake Placid, against a coach, sometimes it works. Sometimes it works.
1994 New York Rangers are a good example.
There you go. Mike Keenan. Perfect. Good stuff. All right. All right, Randy. I hope it wins. Or Ron saying he likes my parlay. Good stuff. I want to thank Kevin McGran. I'm working on a guest tomorrow. I'll confirm with our staff, hopefully by noon tomorrow. Hopefully we'll get this guest because I think it'd be great for the way things are going for his team right now. But I want to thank Kevin McGran for joining us to talk Leafs and Bruins. Thank our staff up in Montreal as always. Thank you, the viewers and the listeners. We appreciate your support. And once again, thanks to the people behind the Friendship 4. Pierre, enjoy the hockey tonight. Will you be on the post game again?
I will.
All right. I'll look forward to it. On TSN 69. Sounds good. All right. Until tomorrow, he's Pierre McGuire. I'm Jimmy Murphy. And this has been another edition of the Eye Test on the Sick Podcast Network.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Eye Test with Pierre McGuire and Jimmy Murphy on YouTube, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.